I'm Kim Eddleston with FamilyBusiness.org, and today I'm with Jenny and Katie. Jenny Dinnen and Katie Rucker are twin sisters who are currently running their second generation family business, McKenzie Corporation, started by their dad 38 years ago in Southern California. Growing up with two entrepreneurial parents, Jenny and Katie didn't necessarily aspire to take over either of their parents' businesses. But as fate would have it, they both came back into their dad's business about 15 years ago. Since then, Jenny and Katie have successfully transitioned leadership and ownership of the business while at the same time expanding their services, growing their client base, and launching a second business that focuses solely on empowering and championing next generation family business leaders. Thanks for being with me today, Jenny and Katie.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
so
us.
Much.
So
exciting.
Katie, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
Recently, you took on a huge role as a volunteer at Ronald McDonald House. I heard that you initially did not have your family's support. Why?
So yes, in the beginning of 2019, I was asked by the board of the Orange County Ronald McDonald House to chair their capital campaign. Initially, they were looking to raise $12 million to double the size of the house. So the house currently is 20 rooms, and they're looking to go to 44 rooms and add a lot of different services there. So it's a huge endeavor. It's the first growth for the Orange County House in 30 years. So it was one that I initially thought, I'm not sure that I have the ability or the skills to be able to do, but I just felt extremely honored to be able to be asked by the board and to do that. So I came and shared the idea with Jenny and my parents and said, what should I do? And originally I felt, so, some of that comes down to communication and those types of things, but I did not feel fully supported about this idea with the big cheerleading, like, yay for you, you totally got this. It was a little different response than I was initially expecting.
Jenny, so let's hear your perspective. So when you first learned of Katie's new role, what was your concern? And then, of course, over time, how did your opinion change?
I think coming out the gate, I was looking from my perspective. I was not looking at why is she doing this? What is she hoping to get? Any of those kind of things. I was looking from my own lens for a couple different pieces of it. One, the thought of raising $12 million is like overwhelming to me. And the thought of asking people for $12 million, let alone, I've got kids and I do those jogathon runs and I have to raise a few $100, and that is a lot. So I think initially I just thought I could never do that. So I said, don't do it. Don't take it on, because it seemed like a lot for me and not something that I could do. And we're twins. So I just was like, that's a terrible idea. Don't do it. The second thing was, as an active, and we are both active, 50% business owners, and we're very active in our business, it's a big role. And I was like, hold on. And I will say now, having a limited perspective of thinking only from the perspective of it will take her away from the business and take her attention away from the business. I didn't think how it would be that I wasn't rolling out the cheerleading red carpet for that. And I just said, I think that's a terrible idea. Don't do it. I have massively changed my mind at this point. Yes.
I think it's awesome that you're willing to share this, because the fact that, you are such close sisters and you had the concern. Katie, how did your opinion change over time?
Once I said yes, I just knew in my heart that this was the right thing for me to do. And I spent then a lot of time talking with my husband and a few other close confidants about why do I feel so compelled to say yes to this? And I was able to finally figure out for myself, and then ultimately explain to Jenny and to both my parents. So for me, and we kind of, not to talk too much about our past history of how we ended up in the family business, but I have worked almost my whole professional career in our family businesses. So I worked for about 1.5 years after college somewhere else. And then I worked with my mom's company. As you had said in the intro, both of our parents were entrepreneurs. So I worked with my mom for a few years and then switched over to my dad's. And what I really realized for me personally, and each sibling or each, family member within a family business is going to have different ways that they look at this. But I struggled with knowing what wins or achievements were fully mine, because when you accomplish things, is it because I accomplished it with the help of my sister? Is it because I accomplished it with the help of my parents? Did I get this opportunity only because of my parents? And so to have something this big, and to be able to take on such a strategic like leadership role, and to be able to get out into the community and learn so many different things. So for me, that was really what I realized in hindsight that I needed. And once I could more clearly articulate it for myself and then to Jenny, then we started those communication things. And so I think that's why it mattered so much to me to do this, not only to make a huge impact for the families that the house serves, but also to be able to like know that I could accomplish some pretty big things just all on my own.
Kate has been incredible of like the amount of learning and growth that she's done, and like vulnerability to say, this is what I need. And it is interesting, I'll just say too, being in a family business and being twins, we could not be more different on every level, everything. I went out and got some experience outside the business, and not that that even really matters, but for two reasons. One, I had wins outside of the family business on my own. One, two, I also, and there's no right or wrong, but I feel like once we acknowledge I'm the type of person, I don't need outside validation. Kate also has been very open and saying that she does need that kind of validation of where these things are. And it takes a very big person to be able to say, this is what I need. It was a good thing when Kate finally said, I need this for me. And then once I could look at that lens, so I think on that perspective, I 100% changed it. And I was like, oh, well, if you need it because you need it, then that's a different, on that alone, I would say, go do it, whatever you need. On the flip side, Katie being an active, very large leader in our community and taking on a role like this and raising $15 million and getting the exposure in our community and the business leaders that she's been around, I will just say has amplified our business so much. And that's not why you necessarily give at all, but it has, now looking back, fantastic opportunity to have Katie out as a business leader on this front.
From talking to you earlier too, it sounds like you've learned a lot from the whole experience.
Whether they're a next gen family business leader and or, a junior salesperson or in like a different kind of role where you really need somebody to start getting experience, I think in sales, an amazing win-win opportunity is, because this is truly how exponentially I feel like I've grown through this opportunity, is get them on a nonprofit fundraising committee for a nonprofit that they're passionate about. Because then you practice being able to go out and talk about something you're super passionate about. You can start doing some different asks. You're being able to learn these skills, like the sales skills. It's going and fundraising is the same as sales. And so you're trying to get people to like support and fund, whatever it is that you're doing. And you get, it's different networking opportunities. You just start connecting and growing your sense of community and like who you are. I just think that there's so many ways for us that have changed for us is how we look at philanthropy different now that we've had this opportunity. And that again is I got, extensive training and how to do major asks and those types of things as a part of this capital campaign. Like the first ask I went in for was $3 million. We're originally supposed to raise 12 million. We're at 14.3 now. And we're shooting to get to 15 if we can. So it's just been, hugely successful, but again, an amazing learning opportunity on all sides for us.
What great advice. And then I learned about all of this because I follow Jenny on LinkedIn. I absolutely love her posts. And I saw how incredibly proud she was of you, Katie. And that's what really struck me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to talk to the two of them. So Jenny, how has this role that Katie took on, how have you seen it change your sister and even how you think about philanthropy?
So we're twin sisters and we're co-presidents of our business. And I was always, I'd say before this, I was sales and marketing, more out front, the face of the company. And Katie was more operations behind the scenes. And I mean, she's definitely like I'll say the doer and more the tactical type of person, but always kind of took that like little bit of a backseat role in there. Oh my gosh, she has like come up, which I love so much more. Her confidence of being outside or out of business, sharing, doing all the things is unbelievable, incredible. One, two, she also is wildly different than I am. And she's got a massive project that she's taking on next week. We'll just kind of, which we can get to later, but like even in like the physical sense of things, of these like races and half marathons and Ragnars and these things, like Katie is a yes person now, which now is inspiring all of us. Like we can do more. I think I can do more because Kate can do more, and she's a inspirer now of like what that is. So it's been a really incredible piece. It's changed the way that we think about philanthropy as a family and as a business. So to backtrack a little bit, our family has always given started with our grandparents, and they gave a lot through the church. It's just what you do, but you give anonymously. That's what you do. And I think that's tremendous and amazing. And I mean, it's just a part of who we are, that you give back, but you give anonymously. That's what you do. My parents, same way. They gave a lot. They gave through the business, but they gave anonymously. I don't even think that their employees really knew how much they were giving, what they were doing, because that's what you do. They're humble, head down, do the work. You don't brag about those kind of things, I think, is the way that it was. When we took over the business, or when we came into the business, I'd say 10, 15 years ago, Dad gave us both a little bit of money before we were owners and said, hey, listen, you guys can give it to any charity of your choice. And I think it was like $10,000 at the time or something, which is a lot, but not a lot of where we were. And so we both then decided, I think at the time, maybe you were Ronald McDonald and I was with another incredible organization. And so we started giving, but we started telling our friends, and we started kind of doing these fundraising, right? Like we had Kendra Scott come, and then you raise money and you have all this type of stuff. And we started really spreading the words. And I think we're marketers also. And in the beginning, our parents were like, what are you doing? Like, you don't brag about what you're doing. You don't talk about it. But we thought, we don't have the money now, but we have amplification, like, and we can talk about this. So they started, but even at that part, we were giving at a certain level, but we were never taking on big leadership roles inside a nonprofit organization. You just kind of gave your check every year. This is what you did, amplify. But we want to make sure that we're not just giving anonymously to the things that we care about, but what do we as a company, and what do our employees and team members? So we are loud and proud. I didn't realize, now being seen as leaders in our community, not just for the business that we do, but the give back and the philanthropy that we do, and what we're inspiring others to do. Kate, you're creating a movement. I'm very proud sister, and inspired.
I love it. I think for sure on that, again, it's really of reshaping in our minds. We kind of say like reshaping the, understanding or perception around philanthropy, which that is the nonprofit that Jen's a part of, is actually getting kids to realize the impact and difference that they can make. And so starting them as elementary school level philanthropists, and then really fostering that all the way up. It's just an alignment for us around next generation. But I realized how much, again, I was getting. So we've had team members come and say, I want to volunteer at the hospital. And so we actually then allowed or supported a team member. She took 2 hours once a week for 9 months on the clock to go volunteer at the Children's Hospital. It was something that just made a huge impact to her. And I think it's just helped us reshape the way that we do basically everything.
Oh, I absolutely love it. And I love how you explained the win-wins. And I've heard so many families, even my family businesses, it was always anonymous. And so not only, the power and the championing you have, and then obviously getting actually involved, the doing. Would you give any advice? So I'm hoping a lot of next gens will be inspired by this. What if they feel they don't have the talent or the resources yet? So they might have a passion, like you said, but what advice would you have for them watching this, feeling inspired, but maybe thinking like, oh, I don't have anything to offer?
There's a ton of nonprofits that I just think they're super neat. And I send a note to the executive director and say, I'd love to come and meet you for a cup of coffee and learn more about your cause. Nonprofit organizations want to connect with the community, and they're always looking for volunteers. And I would say strategic volunteers, because they have all these different committees. Do they have a marketing committee? They have program committee. They have events committee. They have all these different ways. And I think one is just trusting, again, like what's in your heart and finding a cause that you're really passionate about, and then reaching out to somebody within that organization and say, this is what I'm interested in. Do you have any open areas that you think my skill sets could make an impact for you? So is there a space that I might be able to get involved? I mean, when I got initially asked to join the board for the Ronald McDonald House, it was my first nonprofit board. I was super surprised that it happened, but it wouldn't have happened if I didn't like say yes to an initial conversation. And this whole opportunity wouldn't have happened if I didn't go and do that initial cup of coffee. So I think my biggest advice is just reach out to somebody and say, I'd love to learn more about what you're doing.
You provide. So when people say, I don't have anything to give, that is entirely untrue. Like your perspective is incredible. Like your amplification is incredible. Like your ideas. I mean, there's so many things. It can start with, I mean, we do the packing at Second Harvest, you go pack food something. I mean, you do not need to start at a board level raising $15 million. There are a million nonprofits out there, all sizes and shapes. And so when getting involved with them, I'll just say too, there's some really, really big ones that are incredible and amazing. Even some of these small nonprofits need help. I mean, $1,000, like $100, like goes a long way. And are you coming and spending time with them? Like this doesn't have to be huge. So you can have a really big impact in a million different ways. But anyone is unsure of where to start with, reach out.
Give us a call.
We will
talk about this all day, every day.
And connect you to somebody. I think that there's just, I mean, I think it's the same way on a different note, but I always say for people with mentorship or whatever, like people want to give back. They really do. And even if you reach out and one person doesn't, 15 other people will say yes. So start somewhere. Yeah.
Last pieces of advice, particularly for like the family business as a whole. You kind of touched on it a little bit. What advice do you have for maybe a family business watching this and saying, hey, I would love this. Imagine my employees getting involved. What advice do you have on how they can do it? And then also the benefits you're seeing again from philanthropy.
You can do like a confetti strategy where you're giving to all different kinds of causes, or you can do something that's a bit more focused and central. And that does help by being able to have some sort of strategy. There's ways to still be able to like amplify for causes that you're not actually giving to as well. So I would have some sort of strategy there and then decide at what level your giving will be impacted by kind of involvement by your team members. So for us, most of it's kind of being directed based on like for our family kind of says, this is where we want to be able to give. So I think that there's a lot of different strategies. I think it's just needing to carve out space to come up with some kind of a plan. And if that's your annual plan, so then you have something to kind of keep anchoring back to, I think would be some of my biggest recommendations.
Because sometimes you ask people like, where do you want to give? They're like, I don't know. But then they say, I want to give to, I mean, gosh, we did horses, we did mental health, we did all of these different things. And we just try finding out what's on their heart. I will just say the benefit too is unbelievable. I mean, it just changes who we are as a business of coming together, the connections that we have to people. It's just deeper. Everything that we're doing is deeper because of this. And I haven't heard it can really raise people up as leadership skills, giving them wins outside of the family business, really coming into their own and feeling proud about who they are and having a say. And I see Katie as a different leader now than I did before.
Jenny Dinnen and Katie Rucker, it's been a pleasure having you. I hope to have you again soon on philanthropy.org. And oh my God, keep inspiring and changing people's lives and doing exactly what you do. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.